you for bringing me this morning.
Good morning. Now, what is your general assessment of the state of the nation and the change agenda of the current administration?
The Nigerian nation is in shambles right now, and the ship of the nation is adrift. Things are terrible. The economy is in shambles. Our security situation is nothing to write home about. And the current government came into position of power in 2015 with a promise to do only three things. And that was to revamp the economy and to improve the security situation with regards to insurgencies around the country and general crime. I think the third thing they said was to fight corruption. And what we have now is that the insurgents are even more emboldened than they used to be before. You also seen that a new frontier of insurgency has been opened by herdsmen who are all over the country rampaging and killing farmers, subsistence farmers. And the anti-corruption war is so one-sided that the only way you can regard it as corrupt is if you are not a member of the ruling party. If you are a member of the ruling party, you are suddenly seen as a clean person. And if you are not, you are hunted all over the place. I have fought corruption over the years on my own as a reporter and publisher of Sahara Reporters, and I can tell you when someone is not fighting corruption, because that's what I do for a living, and I've done that for over 12 years, and most people know me for doing that. And I can tell you that the anti-corruption war of this regime is a sham. And to the extent that the only reason why earlier in the game it sounded like the government wasn't as corrupt as the past one was because there was not enough to steal. They had already raided and completely emptied the treasuries. The moment they were able to bring in enough for themselves, they began doing the same exact thing the regime that left doing, including assigning to themselves a $1 billion allocation to fight against insurgency. At the time they claimed the insurgency had been defeated. So, and the economy, as you know, is the worst of all times. Nigeria is about to take the place of India next year as the world poorest place to live on earth. This is official. This is well known internationally. It was by an international organization that tracks those kind of serious levels of poverty. So what do we have to say to you other than to say, well, it's time to take our country back from these old guys? They've run out of ideas. They've admitted that they have nothing more to offer, nothing new to give us. And it's up to the Nigerian people to stand up once and for all, peacefully, and take their country back through peaceful democratic elections that are coming up next year. So that's where we are.
You would also look at the indices given by this administration on the economy based on agriculture and, you know, revitalizing the areas in agriculture in Nigeria today. Would you say that that is not also some way?
The only indices they gave that I saw and knew about was that the Minister of Agriculture claimed that rice mills in, I think, Singapore, Malaysia were closing down, or was it Thailand? And it turns out that the indices we have, which is accurate, is that there's actually more importation of rice into Nigeria, but this time through Benin Republic. So it's a lie. First, the ambassador of Thailand has dismissed that as a fat lie. And secondly, if you have rice mills closing down in other places, it means that you have rice mills popping up in your country. The only place they point to when they're talking about agriculture or rice is Kebbi State. Nigeria has got 36 states to grow rice. We're only growing 7% of our arable land. So it's a lie. And then to compound all that, our president traveled to the United States of America and signed a deal with the US government to have more access to our market from their agricultural products. So it shows that we are not ready over here. So propaganda can't feed people, by the way. And propaganda cannot become indices. And they don't have credibility. There's no credibility. There are no credible figures. You know that it was this country that we first and had an economic wonder where they claimed that they rebased the Nigerian economy and the economy was doing better than South Africa. The question you ask them is, you have no electricity, how can your country be better than South Africa? South Africa has got about 62,000 megawatts of electricity. Nigeria has got 3,000, struggling every day and the power system are shutting down each time they crank it up. So So it's all lies, and we cannot continue to feed on lies. Lies can't take this country to the next level, and it is time to stop all the lies. Let the old people go back. The old guys, it's time for them to retire so that we can have a fresh lease of life in this country.
Now,
we deserve it.
Do we dismiss the indices given by the administration and the scorecard they have given themselves as, you know, they said they have a pass mark, especially in agriculture? Because when you listen to a business mogul like, you know, Dangote, you know, who said on national television, appraised the Buhari administration on its, you know, revolutionary effort as far as agriculture is concerned, and said the rural poor are now happy with the administration because of the level they have been galvanized to invest in agriculture. So what does that say? This is someone who interacts with the grassroots.
If you follow Alhaji Aliko Dangote very well, you will know that he's somebody we call Ajib, any government in power. He's a businessman. If he doesn't say nice things about the prevailing government, he's in trouble. His business will be in trouble. What I'm telling you is that I have been traveling around Nigeria in the last 3 months since I declared to challenge the old guys and send them back and send them packing and back into permanent retirement. And I've not seen anywhere where there's any agrarian revolution going on in the country. What I see is hunger on the faces of our people. What I see is, you know, desperation to climb out of this hole into which we were dug in the last 3 years. So the problem is that Nigeria entered recession because the current government, the ruling government, could not form a cabinet for 6 months. And they had the temerity to claim that Nigerian youth are lazy. You know, the lazy people who couldn't form a government in 6 months are the people who brought about the recession. And after the recession came an economic depression. And now they are claiming that we are growing at 1.9%. That is their index. There's no country that can make it out of poverty at that level of growth. So that's the simple arithmetic that we need to teach them. And this is what they don't know because there's no capacity and capability that I see at that level. And we know this already. I don't think we should keep arguing about it. If after 3 years, no project has been concluded, if after 3 years you can't show to me any pyramids of grain anywhere or silos containing food, you're just telling us lies that, and we're not fools anymore. And if you fooled us before, you can't keep fooling us. So I don't actually want us to dwell on all these indices and the concocted numbers.
The Not Too Young to Run bill has been passed by the president, and a lot of Nigerian youths are gearing on and coming out proudly. And somebody said, yes, first we have seen the Not Too Young to Run bill passed. But beyond that, how ready are the Nigerian youths, especially in call to service? I mean, it's not enough to go on the faces of the social media and tweet and Instagram and Facebook and have your conversations played out. But in real time, do you think that the average Nigerian youth actually understands what leadership and politics is about?
Absolutely. I want to commend those who fought for Not Too Young to Rule bill. But what actually happened is not that they were interested in young people ruling. They discovered that young people had already taken the bull by the horn, you know, and they saw so many candidates already challenging them, making waves, getting acceptance, and making inroads even into their own well-known fortified territories. And they decided that, you know, they have to dash us something, a tokenistic bill. We are not in need of Not Too Young to Rule to know that we are ready to rule. What we need is Too Old to Rule bill, which is what we are codifying by way of how we are attacking the political process right now. We are cleaning it up, we are mobilizing people, new areas, we are disrupting the political space like it's never been done before. So I don't want to undermine those young people who really fought for that bill. That's a piece of activism that we must continue to have in our current system of governance or democracy is accepted. But that's not what we need. We've already, in fact, by the time they signed the bill, we had already been, several young people had already thrown in their hats and they're months into their campaign for the presidency. So many of them are trying to become governors, senators, House of Rep members, House of Assembly members. And with the level of galvanization, you know, and sensitization that's going on, including the education that's going on, even at the level of the grassroots, online and offline, the young people are showing the old guards that not only are we ready, we have come with new political tools to mobilize the society into a different, in another direction. And we have become a movement now. Everywhere you go, everybody's talking about it. The first thing people tell you is that we don't want to have anything to do with this old gas. And I'm not in any way saying that because someone is young, he should automatically be conferred with a political position. That's a sense of entitlement I don't want to promote on national television. We're talking about young, responsible people who have character, who have capacity, and the capability to run this country. I will say to you that I can do better than most of the leaders of this country who were ever president before.
How would you reduce unemployment?
Unemployment, we have looked into it and come with something we call Spicer HEAT, which is our acronym for how we want to take Nigeria to the level of progress and prosperity right away from day one when we are elected into office next year. First is security. Without security, you are wasting your time. And when you go to next level is power. I mean electricity. Electricity alone, when you give it to this country 24 hours a day for 7 days, will have this country bubbling with economic activities, economic growth that you've never seen before. It will dazzle and probably paralyze economic analysts what will happen to Nigeria, because Nigerians are people who are innovative people and they don't rely on government to do what they need to do, but they have been held down by darkness because our country, our leaders, the corrupt and incompetent and mediocres that have run this country for years have been investing in darkness instead of light and power. And power is not just a bulb flicking up there. It is energy. But they don't understand that because they are coming from the past. So with electricity put in place in this country alone, the way they have it in Ghana, I'm not talking about the United States now. Ghana was able to resolve its electricity problem within a year when it had a shutdown. So why did they get it that we can't get it? But here is what we're going to do. Renewable energy alone, just solar in the north, will provide nothing less than 2 million jobs for people, putting together the resources we need for that if you are doing 4,500 megawatts of electricity alone. It's also a business that can be made available if we decentralize our moribund grid of way of distributing electricity. So you can have a community where people just grow their own electricity on their roof and then sell to the national grid. And the national grid will be bubbling with electricity. But the problem is also that we have a moribund and broken down system. We don't have power lines that can transmit. We need to build that. In building that, you're talking about super infrastructure. I am turning this country into construction site to build roads, bridges, rail, power transmission lines, schools, hospitals. That in itself will provide about 1.5 million jobs. Real agriculture, not propaganda agriculture now, at the rural areas where we are growing from 7% to about 25% arable land of our, and we're planting everywhere we can find. This country, you throw anything down, the next day is growing, but nobody is catering to them because we are more interested in propaganda agriculture. And we are interested also in agriculture that shows us as being able to export what we don't have when we can't feed people at home. 198 million people, mouth to be fed. We can feed the entire African continent if we do agriculture the way it is real done. That will give you another 2.something million people. And it has multiplier effect because we are in Africa. One person is okay, 10 other people are benefiting from it. That is employment. There will be so much job. We want to hire 200,000 teachers, 160,000 health workers to go into every part of Nigeria to at least help people check their blood pressure.
Sure. Let me take these two aspects, for time's sake. Two aspects that you raised. You say you're going to boost electricity supply and you're going to ensure maximum investment in agriculture. Yes. But some of the things you have said are not entirely new. For instance, the renewable energy aspect of it. We see windmill springing up in Katsina, for instance, and we're seeing solar energy even in Abuja, where I'm not talking about
solar energy of the ones we put at the bus stop. We're talking about the solar farm
that serves a community.
They did in Morocco and Tunisia.
I'm going somewhere. Sorry, if you would permit me to conclude my question. And you find, solar panels and solar farms in Abuja, the FCT, right here, and other states are adopting it. So what essentially are you going to do differently to create jobs? In the area of agriculture, we're seeing the federal government invest more in expanding irrigation facilities. We're seeing sort of collaborations among states, you know, in terms of exchanges. What exactly are you going to do differently? Because there is no clear difference between what is obtainable right now and what you have said,
that's not correct.
What you're saying you're going to do.
That's not correct. What is correct is that I am putting numbers to them. I'm telling you locations where these things will happen. Somebody who went and put windmills in Kaduna is not thinking properly.
In
because,
Katsina State.
Yes. Windmill, where is the wind in Kaduna that could generate electricity enough to serve beyond Kaduna? Probably somebody was trying to do some demonstration. Katsina. Somebody is trying to play some games on our intelligence. Just as they came into office and they started drilling for oil in Maiduguri. We've been doing it for 30 years. You keep doing the same thing every year and hoping to get a different result. That's not going to work. Where I'm different is that I'm knowledgeable about these things. I have wider understanding of how these things work. I'm exposed. I have the numbers. I've done our statistics, and we've done how much we can make from this and who is going to invest in them. I've met with people who can actually make it happen. Not only can we do just 4,500 on every university campus, you can actually also grow about 5 kilowatts of electricity. 5 megawatts of electricity that will power both the university and the surrounding community, and that can be done in 90 days.
You make it sound so simplistic.
It is simple because
we're looking at the federal government.
That's how they paralyze our thoughts in this country.
You have said
yes.
that you were going to implement so many things when you take over power in 2019.
When you elected.
When you elected in 2019. Yes. That sounds really optimistic, and I wish you all the best.
Yes.
Now, you make it sound so simplistic to provide power and expand on agriculture and other systems, but then are you also considering the bureaucratic bottlenecks that are likely to hamper these policies on some of these sectors I have mentioned?
It's very good that you asked that. How is it that there's no bureaucratic bottlenecks when we want to steal in this country? That somebody can walk away, 3 people can walk away with $3 billion, and there's no bureaucratic bottleneck that could stop the movement of the cash. Or the former first lady in this country can open over 18 accounts and have $5 million average in each one of them. And there's no bureaucratic bottleneck, or that we can have people steal money meant for fighting insurgency, 2.7 billion. And there's no bureaucratic bottleneck that could stop that. But when it is time to construct roads, there's bureaucratic bottlenecks. We budget for these things every year, right? We pay for it because
schools to teach children how to protect themselves from diseases. Do you know how we get illnesses? No! They are spread through germs. You collect germs that cause diseases. You pick up germs from any surface, like when you don't wash your